Deborah Murphy here with Real Agriculture. I'm joined by Marilyn Smith, cookbook author, professional home economist. You were involved in a blind consumer study last year in Toronto. Tell us a bit about it.
So the Cattlemen's Association approached me and asked if I would go on the streets of Toronto and ask consumers randomly, what they felt about beef farming, Canada's Food Guide, basically look at what they knew and hopefully present it to the association so that they could see what consumers were thinking about them.
Give us an idea of some of the questions that you asked.
So we asked about 10, 15 questions. One of them, which I thought was really funny, was how to describe a beef farmer. Most everybody said, beef farmers look like us. But one guy in particular sort of had this nostalgic version of a cartoon character that, big hat, big burly guy. And it was pretty funny. But, when I started asking my friends, what they knew, they sort of had this romantic notion too. So he wasn't just the only guy in Toronto that felt that that's what they look like. The question that hit me the most was what had the biggest impact on our environment, a car or a cow. And with all the media, I just thought everybody was going to say cow. And I was surprised that twice as many people said car, which was the right answer, versus cow. So it occurred to me that the people who had the loudest voices that we hear on social media are the ones that are yelling cow, 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 where in fact the answer is car, 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 well, transportation, heating and lighting. And that to me was like a dawning light bulb moment. When you look at the stats, 10% of greenhouse emissions is from all of farming. So there's a lot that we can do aside from not eating beef.
And we should be eating beef.
That's what drives me crazy, is that people think that by stopping eating beef is going to change the environment, and it's not. And for me, it actually does a bad thing because I'm a big fan of the grasslands. And so, when I saw an amazing video, Guardians of the Grasslands, and, just showing that kind of the grasslands are our Amazon forest in Canada, and by taking the cattle off those grasslands, we're going to actually have worse damage to the environment. And I'm a big fan of the nutrition and the protein of beef. I'm a very inclusive eater. I think there's room on our plate for everything. And it makes me sad when people make very important nutrition decisions based on misinformation. And that's kind of what my goal as a professional home economist is, to show all the sides of all the stories and just let people make a decision based on fact and science.
Did you talk to the consumers after the interviews? How did they feel about them? Did they see that there was maybe some misunderstandings there?
When I told them after that it was actually a car and explained why, they were like, oh, except for one woman who had been raised on a farm, and she was emphatic on the actual video that it was a cow and there were studies to prove it. And I told her on the video that she was incorrect, and she said, I want to see your stats. So we did. We showed her the stats. We took her over to the side, and she dismissed them as being something only from Alberta. And that really bothered me a tremendous amount because, well, A, she was negating science, and B, she was specifically pointing at a province. And I didn't know, I don't know anybody like that. And so she kind of really threw me for a loop. But she was the only person but she was very, very opinionated in her belief. And even when she saw the science, there was no way that it was correct. She saw a bias in it. And I just thought, we are never going to convince her because she is so adamant about being right. And I didn't know how to change that around, and that's one of my jobs that I need to do as a professional home economist, to educate people on healthy eating and actually show the science. And I think there's a grid that I looked into after that showed the emissions from agriculture, transportation, cars, housing, and all that. I wish I had that to show her, because that's actually from it's not just from one province, it's from the whole prairies, it's from all of Canada, and maybe she wouldn't have had her biases up so much. I don't know, it just really threw me.
How many people were there that you interviewed in total?
In total, we interviewed 30, and of those people, there was 23 that made the final cut for those questions, and it was 15 to 8. So 15 people said that it was a car that had a bigger impact, and 8 said it was a cow. And those are the ones that we showed. So what I took away from all of this is that I really think that we need to address the positive things that we can say about our industry. I say our industry. I am not a farmer. I'm sorry. It's like when people call me a chef, it's like I'm not a chef. I love to cook, and I am a big supporter of farming and local. So I take that back. I am not, oh my gosh, I have a romantic notion that I would be a great farm wife, or maybe drive a tractor. I actually drove a combine once. That was pretty exciting. But yeah, I think we need to put out positive messaging, because I don't think having an argument with anybody is going to accomplish anything. So I think we just keep showing the facts, and we keep showing the positive, and we just keep spreading love. You know what I would say? Like you draw more people with honey than you do with vinegar. Is that the right word? Yeah. Okay. So I tend to mix up sayings. So, but I think kindness and explaining the good, the positive impact that farming has on our country. Yeah.
And you kind of alluded to that when you talked about the food guide, in that, should we be offended that beef is maybe a little bit less on the plate now, or should we just take that as a sign to run with it?
You have to take a sign to run with it. If you don't, you're just going to be railing against the moon, and you're not going to make any impact at all. I come from a very different approach with this. I've had a lot of physical injuries over my life. I've been in car accidents. Like I bucked off a steer in a rodeo. Hello. How many of you guys? Yeah, so maybe I am. It was for a TV show, and it was a kids' rodeo. But anyway, I fell on the side of my head, tore the ligaments in my neck, and I never was a dancer after that, before I was going to be a musical theater actress. And so it changed my life. And so the choice in my life was, do I hang on to the past and feel badly about something I couldn't do anything about, or do I go on in the future and try to make the best and try to work in a positive way? And I did rail for a while, because you need to grieve that part of you that's gone. But then I decided to be proactive, optimistic. And I really think that's what we need to take away from Canada's Food Guide, is not to go, oh, look where we are on the plate. We need to go, look where we are on the plate. We have so much to offer. And here's some fantastic ways that you can use it, as opposed to going, oh, poor us, they took us down to this category. Because it's not going to change, And I mean, being angry about it, I think it's off-putting to consumers. It's like, no, we have choices. And so I think we need to go with that, but just in the beef industry, I think you just need to go, yay, we're there, and here's all the wonderful ways that you can use beef. And I really want to give kudos to Canada Beef for doing that. They are really running with the proactiveness of where they belong on the plate.
Mm-hmm. So, and what do you think consumers should take from some of your findings from this study? We talked kind of about what the beef industry should do with it. What should consumers take away from?
I think consumers need to get their information from more accurate sources. And I can say that about everything. I'm not going to just point to the 30 people that were there. I think all of us are caught up in misinformation and celebrity who know nothing about a topic. And so I've always said, go to the science, go to the authority, go to the people that know. And I know I did say on my talk, I ended it with, I really think that we should bring back home ec as a mandatory grade 8 course, so that everybody in Canada, all the kids in Canada, learn the same thing, and so we have the same base for beginning our information. Because without critical thinking, and that's what we're missing nowadays, is critical thinking. We just think, okay, that's true, without questioning or having the right questions to ask. And so I think consumers are accepting misinformation without the critical thinking, and I think it's because we don't teach that in school anymore.
Will we be able to see these videos?
Yes, as a matter of fact, they're going to be on your website. Oh, not on your website, but on the Cattlemen's website. They will be there, yeah, and I think they're going to be using them in social media as well.
Awesome. Marilyn Smith, thank you so much for joining us today.
It was my pleasure.